Today we are doing a little family road trip to see George Washington's house at Mount Vernon, Virginia. We're doing this trip in early May of 2026, and it had just rained the day before, which made the temperature drop a little lower than we anticipated. So we were a tad chilly in our shorts and short sleeves at around 56 degrees when we got here, but by the time we left, it was more comfortable in the low 60s. For reference, we arrived at 8:51 in the morning, and this is what the parking lot looked like. By the time we left at 10:50 a.m., it was super crowded, so keep that in mind. I'm a big fan of old architecture and red bricks, and this place has a lot of that. The first spot we came to that we wanted to check out was this place called the Shops at Mount Vernon Food Court and Auditorium. They weren't quite yet all the way opened up when we first walked in, but we were able to see enough to get an idea of what we wanted to bring home and plan to stop back by when we were ready to leave. Any George Washington or early American history fan will have fun checking out all of the books and merch in these stores. They have something for pretty much everybody, even if you're not that into history or anything to do with George Washington. The coffee mugs were pretty nice. I didn't bother to check the prices though because I already have way too many coffee mugs at home. As I get older, I'm more drawn to things like these jars of preserves and homemade style food items unique to a location we visit. Some of these little pillowy type ornaments were so pretty, and they were actually my favorite. They were a little pricey, running about $20 and up, but they are not as bad as the Disney World ornaments, which usually run at a baseline price of $30 and up. Our little family is really big on Christmas, so we gravitate toward ornaments for souvenirs when we see them at gift shops. I loved this little horse-drawn carriage ornament. I was just a little bummed out that it didn't say Mount Vernon on it anywhere, but it is still very nice. Anymore, I like to do my green Christmas tree in only red ornaments, but I make exceptions for gold as well. I wasn't going to buy this, but I just wanted to see how much it was because I thought it was cute. There were a few other items like this one that for some reason they didn't have a price listed anywhere. We got here on a Saturday, and apparently they were doing something called Revolutionary War Weekend. I'm not sure how often they do this, but it might be a contributing factor as to why the lines seemed so long. Not only to get inside when we arrived at the gate, but also to get inside the house, as you'll see later in the video. This was an unexpected inconvenience for us because we have one beautiful 6-year-old daughter who is autistic, and with her, waiting in lines and not being able to go somewhere while watching other people go in front of you simply just does not compute in her little mind completely just yet. So if your child is autistic or has these similar issues, keep that in mind, that there could be a few different times you have to wait in some lines, especially if you plan to go inside George Washington's house. And now we come to the grounds areas where the majority of the walkways are more primitive. The air here is filled with the smell of linens, dirt, and smoke from muskets. If that's your kind of thing, then this is the place for you. One vendor-type tent displayed these handmade etched maps which looked awesome until I saw the prices. I told my husband about them later on the drive home and said I didn't care if George Washington himself etched those maps out and they were selling them. Those prices were outrageous. And now we have arrived at the front of George Washington's house. We actually decided to skip that attraction because of our daughter's struggles and chose instead to make the most of walking the grounds and exploring the areas where there are no lines or waiting as much as possible. Also, I'll mention with regard to waiting at the entrance gate, we saw on our way out when we left around 10:50 a.m. that there was 0 wait time to get inside. However, the trade-off would be in having more difficulty finding a parking spot once you arrive. I loved the nature walking aspect of this travel location. The grounds are spacious, and there were horses and even sheep that added to the charm of the whole experience. It's like walking into an old book with the costumed actors walking around everywhere, and like I said, I don't know if this is a regular thing or if we just lucked out on seeing the reenactments on this particular weekend, but they were pretty cool and made the whole experience that much more memorable. Also, a note of caution that because there are real horses running around this area, there will be real horse poop on the walkway in sparse areas, so watch out for that. It was kind of funny watching a couple of the soldiers breaking formation to dodge the poop. Good for them. It is calming to think that there was a time without cell phones and notifications, which I've grown to hate the older I get. We had a great day stepping into a little bit of history and would highly recommend for couples or adults especially. When traveling with small children who may have difficulty waiting in lines, we still recommend it, but with the cautionary advice regarding the timing of your arrival at the entrance gate, and I simply would not recommend doing the house tour side of this location. Our daughter has these difficulties, and if you have a child with autism, you know how quickly things can spiral into utter chaos. But if you do your best and try to flow with it, at the end of the day, you spent time as a family and made the best of it, and that is a win for everybody. We ended up bringing home a 250th anniversary ornament, a fridge magnet, and a decorative baseball for our daughter. We hope you enjoyed our video and found it helpful. Thank you for watching.